Today we're going to be doing a clicker game style tutorial. So this is going to be a clicker game based off of any clicker game you've ever seen before. But there's been a couple tutorials I've seen on YouTube that have started it and not finished or whatnot. And the one that I can really think of, the one I've actually looked up in the past before I knew Unreal Engine, was someone from Rubadev. They have a good series started on a clicker game, but they never finished it. And I was one person that looked at that and I said, why is this not finished type of thing? He has hundreds of other tutorials. This is no shame towards the developer. I'm just saying, I know people are probably wanting to see the rest of it or different ways of doing things. So I'm going to start my own series on it and show you the way I do it. Now, I'm going to try my best not to hard code too much stuff here to where it can all be changed on the fly type of thing through maybe data tables. I already have it built. I've already made the game myself for the most part. So I'm just figuring we should start a tutorial on this. Now, I want to bring this up that I am not a professional game developer. I do have a fairly large project that I've been working on. It's called Lurking in Fear. I actually have devlogs here on this channel of it. You guys want to check that out? I do have some crappy devlogs. This is before. I haven't recorded one lately. But we're going to be doing this in Unreal Engine 5.4. I'm assuming you guys already have everything installed. And just go ahead and launch Unreal Engine 5.4.4. That's what I'm using because 5.5 hasn't been working for some reason. I try to launch it and it gives me an error saying something's not installed or something. I don't know. Also, we're using Meld to record this instead of OBS. It's a newer program. I'm trying it out to see how it works. So let me know what you guys think of how it looks. So we have my recent projects here. These are all just been things I'm working on and trying. Go ahead and click on games, and then we're going to create a blank project. You want to make sure you name it, make sure it's on blueprints, and you can do whatever you want to here. Make sure it is on desktop though. And we're going to do this as a clicker tutorial. We can't have spaces. Clicker tutorial. And then create it. So here we are inside of Unreal Engine. Let everything load. I'm in F10 mode, so if we get out of that, it will look like this. And let's go ahead and dock in layout. Bring everything back to where it's supposed to be, content browser. So we're going to start off by creating a couple of folders just to keep everything organized. So we're going to create a new folder, and we're just going to call this one Clicker. Everything's going to be inside the Clicker folder. That's where we're going to create everything about this game. So we're going to start out with another folder called UI. We're going to make another folder called components. That's just like blueprint components, game mode components, anything that is basically something that makes the game run a specific way that's separately created will be in here. And I think for now, that's all we're going to do for those two folders. There might be more we'll add along the way. You could also do like an images folder if you have specific images you want to use for these backgrounds. You don't have to yet. I would suggest, of course, doing it to make your clicker game look prettier and look nicer. But we're going to start out in the components. We're going to right click, go to blueprint class, and we're going to make a new controller. So we're going to do clicker underscore controller. We're going to make a new blueprint class. Why can't I say that? And then we're going to make a new game mode base also called clicker game mode. All right, so what we're going to do now is we also want to make sure this is the other folder that I did forget is a levels folder. So level. Now, I'm assuming you're going to have multiple levels. You're going to have your main menu, and then you're going to actually have your game. So you can create whatever you want. But we're going to do main menu. And then we're going to do another level, and we're going to do clicker. Let's go ahead and open up the clicker game and click Save as Selected. You can save it wherever you want. Go ahead and keep it there. It's untitled. It's the level. And then we're going to let this load. Now we got a blank screen. So now that we're in our new level, what we will want to do is go ahead to the game mode override and change it to the game mode that we just created. So ours is the clicker game mode. We got a bunch of them here that's basically created from Unreal Engine. But make sure you do clicker game mode. Player controller class, switch that to clicker. Once those things are set, what you want to do is go back to your clicker folder, and then we're going to set up the UI. We're going to go ahead and make yourself a default setting. We can actually probably bring our camera back because I want the camera because I think it looks really good, but we can also just make it a little bit smaller. I just like having a camera. But in the UI, let's go ahead and create a new user widget here. Scroll down to the bottom, user interface, widget blueprint, and user widget. We're going to do a main HUD. Oops, I misclicked or mistyped. Main HUD. And then that's going to be our HUD. So we're going to open it up. Go ahead and add ourselves a canvas panel. And then we can go ahead and add a text. Let's throw it in there somewhere. We can also add an image just for like a background. Go over to the anchors and drop it down. Now hold shift, I believe it is. Yeah, hold shift to update the alignment to match. Hold control to update the position to match. So hold control and shift, I think it is. And if you click, it'll fill up the entire image. It'll fill up the entire page. We're going to go ahead and change the color and opacity to be like a darker color. You can make it like a brighter, whatever. And then there we go. We'll make sure the text is on top so we can actually see it. And then we're going to just change this to food clicker, because why not? Size the content. Make sure this is anchored top middle. I'm going to reset the positioning and that. We can go ahead and add a alignment on here of like -0.5. I did not. Did I change anything? Okay, there we go. Now we have the word on the top. If we go and compile, bring this here, and we can go down to the clicker folder, go back to the components, and then into the game mode. So we can have everything start off from the game mode. We'll go over to the event graph. Make sure it's compiled real quick. Get rid of the event tick for now. And then on event begin play, we're going to create widget. You want this to happen as soon as the game starts, and then you want to get the main underscore HUD. That's the one we just created. We are going to go ahead and just add this as a reference or whatnot, so you can always pull any information you want for it. Let me go ahead and redo that real quick, because I think I forgot to say what to do. Promote to variable. That's what we got to do. And then we're going to do main widget ref. Now, like I said, this is my first time ever doing Unreal Engine tutorials, so I keep on forgetting to state specific things to do, so sorry. Drag out from there and add to viewport. And then that's all you will need to do. So if we go ahead and actually click play, it should pop up hopefully on the right screen. There we go. You can see it says food clicker, and then there's our color background. We just created that. So now we actually want to start doing things. But before we actually want to start creating a bunch of UI and the buttons, the work, and everything else, let's go ahead and actually create a bunch of variables that we're going to need. So these are going to all be integers, because I don't want it to be like 1.1 clicks or 1.1 points or whatever. We're going to do integers, which are whole numbers. So the first thing we're going to do is literally just points. That's how many points you have. That's how many food items or cookies you have that you can use to spend on other things. We're going to change that to an integer type. Add a new variable. We're going to do points per click, and then we're going to put the word manual. There's a reason why I'm doing manual here. We're going to do another one, which is points per click auto. So points per click auto. And then we're going to do one more called points per second. So I don't know if we're going to get to that last one today, but that's going to be a video for showing how to update an actual UI to show you how much or how many points you're making per second by checking how much you're making per second auto. Like, it's automatically giving you points because you've upgraded or unlocked that. So it's giving you however many per second, and then how much you're also making by clicking it manually is going to do the math and then update how much you're making per second, so you know how much you're gathering. Let's go ahead and compile that. And we also want to do points per manual click. We're going to change that to default to 1. And then that should be the main variables we're going to have set up for now. Now, one more thing we want to do down here on the event begin play, we're going to get player controller. And then from there, we're going to set show mouse cursor. And then we're going to click that to be true. And then let's do UI mode. Just type in that. And then we're going to do UI mode or set input mode game and UI. That's basically saying that you can use the game and you can use buttons and UI modes and stuff like that. It's not just going to be a game. And then widget in focus will be the main widget reference, which we got just a minute ago by setting it as a variable. And it's going to be focusing on those widgets. If this is wrong, I'll come back and change it later. But it seemed to work when I first built my game. Everything seemed to work. So we're going to leave it as that. So now let's go ahead and create the button you'll be clicking on. Now, these are all going to be default buttons. They're all going to look like squares or rectangles or whatnot. You can make your own images. You can find or purchase your own images. And then you can add those images into here, changing out the buttons and what they look like. It's all up to you to be, I guess you can say, creative. But we're going to stick with default colors and squares or circles or whatnot. Let's go ahead and create another user interface and then user widget. And we're going to call this one main button. That being said, we're going to be creating separate widgets for individual buttons you can use so we can use that one button in multiple different places. Let's go ahead and open up that widget. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a canvas panel. We're going to add a button. We're going to make the button size, let's say, I think 150 and 150 is what I liked. Also, we're going to make sure that this is going to be anchored, I guess, to the center, maybe, of that canvas panel, or we can just like snap it up here. Make sure this is 0 and 0. And then we're going to change the width and the height of this to be 150. And then same thing for the other side. It's really glitched. I don't really like, for some reason, this is glitchy. And I don't understand why. Yes, we got the height and 150. That didn't have that happen beforehand. By the way, I turned this from fill screen to custom. I turned this from fill screen to custom on screen. That's how I got these width and heights. And then now we have the little button. It's just a simple square. Compile and save. And now if we go back over to our main HUD, we'll back this out here. We go down to user created. And if we see, we got the main button here. So we can drag and drop this in. We can anchor it to, let's say, the middle. We zoom in and look at it here. We're going to do size to content. We're going to reset all these locations and location and make sure it's exactly in the center. And now we have our button in the center, which is something you can click to get your points. So we're basically going to be using each one of these widgets that we have here, the main button and the main HUD. And each one of these are going to call back to the game mode to gather information about what's going on in the game. So how many points does the player have? Or it's setting how many points the player has. Any of those variables that we set in the game mode is going to be changed or used or edited in some way from these widgets. So we're going to start off by doing the main button. Let's go back to the main button and let's go up here to the graph. First, let's make sure the button is actually a variable first. We're just going to call this main button and then turn on is variable. You need to make sure you click that because if you don't, you can't really do nothing. You have to turn that on to get these events down here. So on pressed or on clicked or whatever. Click on is clicked. And then from there, what do we want to do? So from the event construct or pre-construct, whichever one you want to do, I think we're going to go for event construct. We're going to right click and say get game mode. And then from there, we're going to type in the words clicker. And it's going to give us an option to cast to clicker game mode. That is the game mode that we set up at the beginning. And if we click on that, hook this up, it'll automatically be there. And then we want to drag out from here and promote this to a variable. That's how we are going to be able to cast back and forth from the widgets to the actual game mode, which is what holds all the information. So what do we want to have happen when the button is clicked? We're going to get that game mode reference that we just got, and we're going to get points, and then we're going to add. And normally you could just do an increment, but we're going to be changing this value of what we're adding to it. The more stuff you upgrade, so we're just going to do a simple add. And then from here, we're going to do set points. And we're going to connect this up. So this is where we're going to be doing some of our math. Now, you could probably do this in different locations or in different ways. But this is how I did it, and it worked for me at least. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what our output is of the addition, and that's going to be our new points. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the points per click manual. This is what happens when you manually click, and that's what we're going to add to it. So right now it's defaulted to 1, so we're going to get the points, and we're going to add 1 every time we click it, and that's what we're setting the points as. So now that that's been done, we can go back to the main HUD, and let's go ahead and add a couple of text. We're going to add about 2 of them here just for a little bit of a test. We're going to do points, if I can type properly, because I can't. Size to context. We're going to add another text right next to it. And we're just going to put the number 0, size to context. So it means it'll size based on what the numbers go to. If it all changes over time, which it will because you're gaining more points. And then now on the text, we're going to go ahead and drop it down. We're going to create a binding. And what do we want to do here? Well, we want to do the exact same thing what we did a little bit ago in the main button. Is I want to go ahead and grab all of these things here. Control C. Come back here. We can do this in the event graph real quick. And then on event pre-construct, or event construct, I should say. Delete all those, and then connect this up. And you can see that since I copied it, and it's trying to copy a variable that doesn't exist on this widget, you can just go ahead and right-click and click on Create a Variable As, and then it'll create it. Go ahead and go back up to this Get Text function, which is what our binding is. We can go ahead and drag this in here now, and we're going to get points, and then we're just going to hook this directly into there. And it should set the text. Now if we go ahead and click play, make sure I got everything right. If we click this, the points number should grow. The more I click it, the more it'll grow. And of course, the actual size box will change the more numbers we get. And that's how we do the basics of adding the number to the screen. So now we want to go ahead and make a shop that's upgradable, or make a shop that's used to upgrade how many clicks per or how many points you get per manual click. And then eventually we'll make one that automatically gives you points even if you don't click every second or so, and so on and so forth. Whatever you want it to do. Control Shift S to auto save because it does that. And make sure everything's saved and we are good to go. So now let's go ahead and go back to the clicker. We're still in the UI folders, which is great. Let's go ahead and scroll back down, and we're going to do all separate UI widgets for all this stuff. We're going to create a new user widget, and this one's going to be called Shop. We're going to open this one up. We're going to get a canvas panel, and then we're going to get a vertical box. And then I would like to make it a certain side. Let's just do majority of the right side of the screen, make it pretty large. And we'll just anchor it to the right side. Reset, reset. We're going to do the alignment, I believe, on, man. I believe the alignment I would like to have would be 1.1 maybe. And then let's see what 0 is. Nope, 0.5. Yeah, 0.5. Now we got our little side piece there. So what we're going to do now is we want to add a couple horizontal boxes. This is where our words are going to be essentially, or where our buttons are going to be that you can click on. So let's go ahead and add a text. This one's going to be our header, I guess you can say, for our shop. It's literally going to say shop, or whatever you want your shop to actually say. Make sure we're entered there. Now on the text, we wanted to make sure it's like a centered thing. Click fill, and there we go. Now we're centered. We can even change the font size to be like 45 maybe. I like how large that actually is. And then now we need to actually make buttons that will change variables that we have in the game mode. So in this horizontal box, what we're going to do is we get this horizontal box here. We're going to duplicate it, and it'll put it right below it. What we're going to do is we're going to change how these work here. We're going to click that back to auto. We're going to add the padding on the left to be like 10 maybe, so we're not 100% on the edge. We're going to change the shop name to be like clicks per second. CPS manual. Clicks per second manual. Also, I messed this up actually. Let's go ahead and delete the text out of there. We're going to add a button. Sorry for that. Add a button into this horizontal box. This button will be fill. You can change the color however you may like. It's not the color, it's the background is what I meant to do. Change it to like some sort of green or whatever you would like. And now we want to add the text to the button itself though. Also, if you ever accidentally change the color and opacity, it will change the text. So remember that. And then now we need to do something when this button itself is clicked. So first we want to make sure it is a variable so it can be clicked. So we're going to do clicks per second upgrade button. Also, we forgot to change the text. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Clicks per second upgrade. There we go. So that's the manual clicks per second upgrade. We accidentally put that little thing in there. Now is variable is true, which means we should be able to click on the button. Oops. Is variable true there, and then is clicked. So this is going to be what happens when you click the upgrade button. We essentially want to do the same exact thing we've been doing, where we actually get a reference to the game mode, which has all the information in it that we're going to need. We're going to copy the get game mode, and then the cast and the variable from the other widgets. We're going to hook it up, right click, and create variable, and now we will have it. So what happens when we upgrade the clicks per second? We're going to get that game mode, and we're going to get clicks. We're going to get points per second manual. We want to go ahead and drag out of this and set points per clicks manual. Drag this out, hook this up, and what do we want to set it as? So we want to take this, and for now we're going to increment it, mainly because I'm not going to randomly choose how much it upgrades. Right now it's just only going to upgrade it by 1 point each time. We can change that down the line, but right now we're just going to manually do it. So we're going to take from this increment pin here and add it into there. So it's going to take the clicks per second, or clicks. It's going to take the points per click manual, which is 1 by default, and increment it. So every time you do it, it adds 1 to it. So it goes from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, so on and so forth every time you do it. And then it's setting that variable to that new number. We can actually test this now. Not yet. We need to go back to the game mode. And we actually need to go ahead and create this widget. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. Create widget. We want it to be our shop. We want to go ahead and get a reference to that shop. So we're going to make it a variable. This is going to be shop widget reference. And then we're going to add to viewport. And then that should automatically be on the screen. We're going to change that later, but right now it will automatically be on the screen. Go ahead and click play. And you can see it's right there at the top. We hover above it. You can see, we click it, it'll technically be upgrading. So right now we're only supposed to get 1 point per click. Now if we click on it, look, we get 18 per click, because I just clicked that upgrade button a bunch. You see 18. If we click it again, we'll go up to 37. So it's actually pretty cool. If we go ahead and just show you that one more time, click play. We go ahead and do 1, 2, 3. If we 1, 2, 3 on this, we should go up to 7, because it's always adding the number to the ones. It's already 1. If you click it 3 times, it'll be 4. And now we got the shop. If you guys would like to go ahead and make it look prettier, make it look a little bit different, we can go ahead and actually on this vertical box, we can wrap it with, let's say, a border. That could be pretty cool too, I think. You go ahead and grab the border. You can change the color of it to be however you would like. I like a darker color to the border, but it seems to adjust the text there and everything. I don't know why. I don't really know how to do much with the borders, to be completely honest with you. Color and opacity, brush color. I think is it brush color? Oh, it is brush color. Okay. I clicked on color and opacity instead of brush color. So yeah, go ahead and change the brush color to be whatever color you would like. There you go. Click OK. I actually really like that. Okay, so I'm gonna add animations to opening and closing the shop just because it makes it look a lot nicer. I didn't have this in my original game where I originally tested how to make all this stuff in my way, but we're gonna do it anyways this way. So we're actually gonna turn the canvas panel to being variable. I don't know if that's gonna matter, but we're gonna do it. So we're going to start this off by doing the shop close animation. So to basically understand what's going to go on, we're going to start from everything being open to then being closed. That's going to be the animation for closing everything. So we have the canvas panel here. If you guys don't know how to do that, just click add and then you can have a list of things here. As long as you have the canvas panel actually selected and you click add, it'll show up as a default thing. So then now we have the canvas panel in here. We're going to do the render opacity. And it'll automatically usually make a keyframe for you. I don't know if it always does, but if it doesn't, just hit this little plus button right here in between everything, and it will make the render opacity keyframe for you. We're going to go down to at least 0.5 seconds, add another keyframe, and then we're going to go down here to 0.25 and add another keyframe. So we have a open like point. We have the middle point, which is the middle point of the transition to being closed. And then we have the fully closed state. So down here, which is 0.50. That means we can change this render opacity to be 0. That means if you look at this here, it goes from being open to starting the transition here. And now it fades into being closed. Bring this all the way back down to 0. We're going to do the shop open here. And then we're going to do the same thing. This has the canvas panel in it already. We're going to do the render opacity, and we're going to start from 0 in making it visible. So we got the keyframe at 0, 0, 0. We're going to throw down a keyframe at 0.25. Then we're going to put down a keyframe at 0.50. So we have this being at 100% opacity at the very end, 100% capacity in the middle because it's like the middle part of the transition. And then back here, the very beginning, we're going to set this render opacity to 0. So this is where we're going to be actually opening it. If we play the animation here, you can see that it opens. And if you look at the closed one, you can see that it closes. So that's what we're going to do. When we want to open the shop, we click a button or whatever we want. Then we play that animation, and then we leave it open. We're going ahead and compile, and then if we go over to the graph now, you can see up here, we got an animations tab under our variables. If we open that up, you can see the shop close and the shop open. So let's go over back to the main HUD, and we're going to make that triggerable. What's going to happen when we trigger it? I think what I want to do probably, though, is actually make a variable inside the game mode, and it's called isShopOpen. And we're going to change that to a Boolean. So the Boolean will affect what code runs. And if it is open, then it's going to show it. If it's not open, then it's going to hide it. So is shop opened? By default, it's set to no. Let's go to the main HUD and go to the graph, event graph. And that also means from here, we don't actually need to add it to the viewport for the shop HUD. We just want to actually have the reference there. We just want to have it created in the game, just not visible yet. So in the main HUD, we can go ahead and actually add a button now. We're probably going to put most of our buttons down here at the bottom just because it looks a lot nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new button. We could do a horizontal thing too. Like I said, this is something I haven't done in my other games, so this is kind of a trial and error type of thing. So go ahead and hit shift, restart or reset all those. It'll be exactly at the bottom, which is exactly what we want, actually. We're going to scale this up to be right around there. It's not going to be exact just yet. It's just going to kind of be there. And then let's add a button into that. We're not going to do fill. I don't think size to content. We can go ahead and add a couple of buttons to that. So if we duplicate, 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 you can see we got a bunch of buttons in there, but we can go ahead and actually add padding. Let's do 10. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So that means we can go ahead and delete the rest of these buttons now that we added padding to that one and just duplicate that a bunch. And you can see here, now we got these buttons down here that have spacing between them, and all those buttons will do something. Let's go ahead and add a text in, let's say this button here alone. We're going to change the font size to be like 15. And then we're going to make it say shop. So now this button will have to be a variable. So is variable true. And we'll do shop open button. Now, what do we want to have happen when we click the shop open button? Let's click on clicked. So first thing we want to do is we want to check to see if it's already open or not. So we have the game mode here. We're going to get it, and we're going to is shop opened. We're checking this basically. We want to make sure that the shop is not open already. So when we click that button, is the shop already open or not? If it is open, then we want to remove it. We can't remove it unless we already have a reference to it. We have a reference to it here in the game mode. Technically, we could do a shop widget reference. Let me try that. Let's see if that'll work. So from here, shop widget reference, we're going to get that, and then we're going to no, we're not going to remove it. If it is, then we're going to play animation. And then what animation do we want to play? So what animation we want to play if it is open, we want to close the shop. So we're going to play close shop. And that's if it's true. If it's not, we're going to do a play animation on false. We're going to get animation, and we're going to do the open animation. And that should be good. And animation. Okay, so this may not be something I need to absolutely do. I'm going to make this a little bit neater, by the way, by getting another version of this. Put it like right here in between them. But from the game mode, let's go ahead and get that widget reference again. Get shop widget reference. Now, this is just because we need to add it on the screen itself, other than because we're playing the animation, but it's not added to the viewport. So if it is already on the screen, we want to play the reverse and then take it off the screen. So remove from parent. And it's just getting that reference from that widget reference. But if it's not, and we want to play the open animation, we want to add to viewport. But now might be the time to actually test to see if this works. So I'll have to see if I have to cut this out or not. I need to pin that to the middle, but let's see. Oh, I see what I did here. So when we open it, we want to set it to being true. So let's go ahead and get that same thing we got here from the game mode. Let's just take this and set is shop opened to true. And then when we remove it from the screen, we want to go ahead and say it's not open now. So it should do a flip-flop, basically saying, hey, now we can open it. Hey, now we can close it. We click it, it opens. Now it technically says it's open. If we click it again, it should remove it. There's nothing up here. We can't do anything. It's still 1 point per click. If we click it again, it opens it. We click it. Now we're getting 2 points per click. Close it. We open it. Yada, yada. Now, there's probably a lot cleaner way of doing this. Do I know how that cleaner way is? Not necessarily. But like I said, I'm not a pro developer. I've not made massive AAA games. I'm just doing my best. So now we have an issue where we can constantly upgrade in the shop. It's just free. So let's go ahead and change that now. I accidentally closed the shop. That's not what I meant to do. But now if we go back to the graph, we can see still here we got the upgrade button. This right here is what happens when we upgrade. But it doesn't do nothing other than upgrade. We need to get from that same game mode now, and we need to get points. And this is going to be basically checking how many points the player has. So you can set this up to be if the player has a certain number, and that number will change based on how many times the upgrade is and everything. It'll keep multiplying how much it's going to cost to upgrade. You could do that. Right now we're going to do manual, like hard coded, I guess you can say, because even though I said we weren't going to do that, we're going to show you that way first, and then we're going to change it later on. So we're going to get the points, and then we want to see if it is greater than or equal to a certain number. So we're going to say 20 is going to be how much we want to see if we have. We want the player to have 20 points at least to purchase this upgrade. At least 20 points or more. If they do have that, hold B and click there, you'll get a branch. And then on true, and connect this into the branch. So what this is doing is asking if the player has at least 20 points, and if they do, purchase it. There you go. Now you got your upgrade. But what we want to do is we're going to get the game mode again, and then we're going to get the points. And now we want to minus from that. We're going to drag back up from there. We're going to set points, hook that up, and then the new output will be what the end result is of the minus, I guess you can say, or the subtraction. So in here, we set the price to be 20. So we want to add or put 20 in here. That means whatever points you have, as long as you at least have 20 or higher, it'll take 20 from you. Now, this is what I mean by we're hard coding. We're manually putting in a number here or here. So let's say a month down the line, once you get done adding a bunch of crazy stuff and you want to change the prices of something, you can't change it unless you come into the actual user interface and try to find this number somewhere. And let's say you have an entire event graph full of code. It's going to be kind of hard to find that. Probably best to actually promote this to a variable. So we can go ahead and, I guess, do that. Price. We'll call this price for upgrade. And now we actually have a variable that we can find and change it that way. If we go ahead and click compile and scroll down to the bottom, you can see that it's automatically set to 20 because we already put 20 in and then we promoted it to variable. If not, you can go ahead and just change that to 20. Then what you could do, I forgot this isn't a physical item, so I was going to have you do instance editable, but I don't know if there's a way you can actually physically see that. I'm not really sure. So now you got price for upgrade. So this makes it easier as now you have how much you want the player to have to upgrade. You can take that same number and throw it into here, into the subtraction, and it'll automatically take that amount out. So both of these are going to be the exact same. So let's go ahead and test that now. If we go ahead and open up the shop, make sure my face is not covering this. Okay, we're good. So we go ahead and open up the shop like this, and we click on it. I mean, it shows it clicking, but nothing happens because we don't have 20 points. Now, if we go up to 20 and we click it again, we do, so it does the math, subtracts 20 from it. And now when we click, we get 2 points per click. But here's the difficult thing is now it still costs 20. It doesn't matter how many times you do it. It's only going to cost 20 points. We need to change that too, and we can get there. So basically, we need to change the price for upgrading based on a certain number or based on how many upgrades they've gotten. So I'm going to make a new variable. I think we're going to do it over here in the clicker game mode because I would like to have all the base information in here. We can reference anything from any specific area because it's all in the game mode. You can easily cast to the game mode. We're going to go over here and we're going to do clicks per second. Upgrade number, I guess. We'll just call it that. We're going to go to integer. Basically, this is going to be a number saying how many times have they upgraded? Have they upgraded once, twice, 3 times? That number will change, and we're going to use that number in, I guess you could say, math to change how much the price is going to cost for the upgrade. So back at the shop, we got the price for upgrade. Let's go ahead and get the game mode here. So we'll do a custom event, and we're going to call this change upgrade amount for clicks per second. Manual. Mainly because I know this is going to be for the manual clicks per second. This isn't going to be for the auto. That'll be something completely different later. Also, if you hear my dog upstairs walking around, he's old and he likes to roam. Sorry that you hear that. So we're going to get the game mode, and we're going to get, what was the variable? CPS upgrade number. CPS. So we're going to get the number. We want to see how many it is. So we could do something like this to see if it's within a range of these numbers. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and use this as a visualizer for how many times we've upgraded. So we can go ahead and increment this by hitting plus plus, and then we're just going to increment it. The reason why we're doing that is we want to physically see on the button how many times we've upgraded, because it'd be something nice to know. So let's go ahead and actually add a number that we can change here. Go ahead and add a text variable or a text to the clicks per second upgrade. We're going to add it to the horizontal box. It'll add it to the side over here. We can make the font, let's say like 12. I'm going to center and center. And then we can make it probably, 12 might be all right. We're going to set this text to 0 by default though. 0. Go. 0. That size is a little small. We'll probably go 22 maybe. That's not bad, because that'll grow over time, of course. And there we go. So let's default this number, by the way, to something. Go all the way down. It's set to, hold up. Make sure this number's defaulted to 0. It is. And then I guess from the text, let's go ahead and bind this. We're going to create a binding for that number alone. We're going to get the clicker game mode, and then clicks per second, upgrade number, and we're going to plug that into there. So every time we purchase this, it should set it off. I don't think we need to actually add a set. We'll test that out here in a second. So this is called change upgrade amount. So change upgrade amount. We're going to call that function just to make it a little bit simpler. We can separate the code from all this code up here. Click compile and then click play. Let's see. Do we need to set it or not? Right now we're at 0 and that's at 0. If we get ourselves up to 20 and we click it, you can see our upgrade amount, or our how many times we've upgraded, it has went to 1. Now we get 2 per click. If we upgrade it again, it changes to 2, so on and so forth. Now we haven't changed how much it's going to cost yet, but we'll get there. If we just keep on doing this, you can see we're getting more and more and more and more amount of money per click, and it actually adds up really quickly. So we can go ahead and click this a bunch now, and it's going to minus 20. And once we no longer have enough to do it, it'll stop. And you can see it changes to 14. But now we get a lot of money per click. So this is one thing you've got to really think of, is how fast does your points add up over time? If your points add up over time a lot, or like really high or really fast, and they add up really quickly, you're going to need to make sure your prices will start jumping really high. Because I can easily get this to like 1,000 just like that, and now I can upgrade the crap out of this, and now I'm going to be making a stupid amount of money. So every time you want to click this button, you need to make sure the prices of this button change a lot. And now we're down to 0, and we've upgraded this 66 times, and now we make 68 points per click. That's a lot of points per click. So now let's go ahead and change how much this is going to cost. So we got price for upgrade here. So we're going to get this, and we're going to change how much this costs every time this fires off. So I'm going to add something to this. You can do addition. You can do multiplication. You can do whatever math you want to here. That's up to you. So let's say every time we upgrade this, we want to add 300 or 200. So you click it once. Now the next time you go to purchase it, it's going to cost $200. You upgrade that again, it's going to cost $400. You upgrade it again, it's going to cost $600 and $800. So it can do that. Or you can do a random value here. We'll do a random integer in range. So we'll say the minimum we want it to be is 100. which is what we're adding to it. So it could be $100 for that upgrade next time, or it could be $300 for the upgrade next time. That's on your first upgrade. If we plug this in, now it's going to add 100 to 300 to it every single time you play this. So it won't be the same. We're going to set this price now. By the way, you hold Alt when you drop it, it'll set it. We'll plug this in, and that new variable will be here. So we're getting the price upgrade, and we're adding a random integer in range to it. So it could be anywhere between 100 to 300 to that number, and that will be the new upgrade amount, which is your setting down here. By the way, I did mention earlier in this video, this is my first time ever doing an Unreal Engine video. I've never done a tutorial. So I would like to know, how am I doing on my tutorials? Is there something I need to do differently? And what should that be? Please let me know down in the comment section below. But I kind of feel like we maybe need a way of seeing how much it costs per upgrade. So let's go ahead and add another text to this box here, this vertical box. Not there. Let's add it to this horizontal box here, but we're going to change it to be on the far side of this. And then we're going to go ahead and format this text to something. But we're going to actually, not that, Control Z, we're going to bind and create another binding. But this is going to be a format text. So we want this to be price with the little semicolon thing right there, space, and then we want the two curly brackets just like that. Inside there, this is going to be price. Hit enter. Now you see you're going to have the word price, and then you're going to actually have a valued price in there. So we're going to hook up the price to upgrade directly into that. And it should work right off the rip. If we open up the shop, you can see price 20. Now if we go ahead and get up to 20 bucks, we'll see it'll give us a random value between 100 and 300 and add it to that. So now it costs $216 to upgrade this, or 216 points to upgrade this. It's going to take a lot of clicking to get to that number. We're just going to go ahead and do it though. It takes 108 clicks. So if we get up there, we're there now. We do it again. Now it's going to cost 478 to upgrade this. Now that may be too big of a jump for you guys. If you guys want your prices to be smaller between jumps or whatnot, then you can go ahead and adjust this random integer to in range. And you guys can also promote these to variables, and you can call it minimum upgrade price and maximum upgrade price in range or whatnot. And then you can also change those through the variables here if you want to. But I'm going to keep mine hard coded like this. If you would like, you can go ahead and change that yourself. So now we have a random price. And all of that, by the way, will still be set. Even if we don't have it open, it'll be there. We can go ahead and do it to 40 or however much. We open up the shop, we upgrade it, we close the shop again, and we open it. The values still stay there because it's not technically being removed. It's not being deleted from the game. It's just being removed from the screen. So you can close it, you can open it, close it, you can open it. Now, I feel like there should be like another little image or another little button you should be able to click down here that does something like show your stats, I guess you can say. So it'll open up an image up here on the right corner that'll show you how many points you gathered all together, or how many points you make per manual click, or literally any piece of information you want the player to know about their game so far. We can go ahead and actually create that. Go ahead and Control Shift S. That'll save everything in the game. Usually, yep, there it goes. And let's go ahead and make another widget. So if you guys haven't realized yet, everything is being done through widgets because it's a clicker game. It's not 3D. It's not complex. But we're going to go ahead and create another user widget. Let's call this stats. Let's go ahead and open this up, and let's do another canvas panel. We're going to do a vertical box again. We're going to add that to the top, make sure it's 0, 0. And then we can adjust the size of however we want it. Let's just do something like this. Let's make sure it fills up most of the screen because this is going to be some important information that the player is going to want to see. And then we can go ahead and add a horizontal box to that vertical box. So we'll have something to fill in. Go ahead and add a text box to that. So we can go ahead and change this text to be points per manual click. And we can also hard code this if you want to. You can also keep this just blank if you want to. But this is just going to be our reference so we know what we're looking for here. Let's get this horizontal box. Let's duplicate it. And let's change this number here, or this words here, I guess you could say. Points gathered. Points gathered, I guess you could say. Points gathered of all time. I don't know, points gathered. So you can see your total amount of points you've gathered over time. We can also do another one. I don't know what we should do. We can do another one called upgrades, I guess you can say. I don't know if we're going to do all these, but these are just ideas. So upgrades, purchased. And there we go. We can have different things on each horizontal box. We can go ahead and add a padding of like 10. We'll do like 25. Make sure there's a nice bit of space between each. Do 25. It's probably best to actually add that spacing before we duplicate them, but there we go. You can see each one of these will have their own things. And then inside this vertical box, let's go ahead and wrap it with a border. On that border, we're going to change, I think it was the color and opacity. So we need to change the brush color. That would actually change the color of the background, I guess you could say. And there we go. So we can actually bind these text and whatnot to a certain value. And that's what we're going to do. So points per manual click, just so the player can see how many they were making each manual click. So make sure you are actually selecting the text. And then on the text arrow, we're going to click bind and create a new binding. This binding here is going to be what we're getting from the actual game mode clicker. So we actually got to set all that up now. Go ahead and delete all these except for the pre-construct. And we're going to do the same thing we did beforehand. We're going to right click and get game mode. That's going to allow us to cast to the game mode. So clicker, and it's going to show that. We're going to go ahead and cast to that. And then we're going to promote this to a variable so we can access all the variables and information inside of the actual game mode. Click compile and go back to the set text function. This is going to be where we're showing how to get, or where we're going to show the player how many points they get per second or per manual clicks. We're going to get the game mode and then points per manual click. And we're going to just plug that in. So this should tell us, what we're going to get or how many we have per manual click. But I also want to do the in and out fading, the animation thing, just like we did with the shop. So let's go ahead and click on the canvas panel and click animations. Click add animations, and we're going to call this stats show. We're going to add another one called stats hide. So let's say we want to show the stats. We're going to click add, and we're going to click add the canvas panel, hit the plus button, and render an opacity. So it automatically made the first keyframe for us. We're going to show it, but we're going to go in a half a second, add another keyframe, go directly to the middle, which is 0.25, and add another keyframe. Since we're showing it, though, it's going to be defaulted to be not visible. So at the very beginning, we're going to click on the numbers here and change this to be 0, which means nothing's visible until we make it visible. So it animates in, essentially. So now we need to do the hide. So if we click on the hide animation, click add canvas panel, we click the plus button on the track, and we click render an opacity. We go to 50, add a keyframe, come back to 0.25, add a keyframe. We're going to be hiding it. So at the beginning, it needs to be visible, and at the end, it needs to be non-visible. So on the render opacity at the very last keyframe, we're going to change that to be 0. So this one will be visible and it'll be turning into not being visible. And we're going to compile that. So inside the main HUD, we also need a reference to that widget, just like we did with everything else. We have the game modes here. We got the different widgets here. So what I did originally was I had the game mode itself have the widget reference. So the more widgets you add to your game, the longer your event begin play is going to be inside your clicker game mode. So you can add functions and make functions over here that are going to make it easier, I guess you can say, or more simple. We can go ahead and like highlight these. This one's going to be the main HUD widget. So we can go ahead and right click on it and create a function, I guess you can say. We're going to do create main HUD. we'll do widget. Now, you don't need to do this, but it is just a really good way of keeping your stuff nice and compact and easier to find later on too. You can do this for the UI mode also. So we can go and right click and collapse the function and then set UI mode and show mouse. So now we have that function, which has all its code in it. And then we can do the same thing here. This is for the shop widget reference. This one doesn't actually have the set or doesn't have the add to viewport because we don't want to add it directly as soon as the game starts. You can do the same thing here though. We're going to collapse the function. Once again, you don't have to do this, but this is what I'm doing. We're going to do create shop HUD reference. And there we go. Now we have some pretty simple little event begin plays that are all firing into functions instead of being a really long thing of code. Now we're going to do the same thing here, but instead of actually creating it that way, we're just going to add another function. And we're going to do create stats HUD reference. And we're just going to do it in here. So create widget. That's not what I meant to do. Create widget. I actually need to go down and actually create a new widget. And then this one right here will be the stats widget. We're going to promote this to a variable, stats widget reference. And we don't want to add this to the viewport right away, so we're not going to add the add to viewport node. Go ahead and compile that, go back to the event graph, and we're going to find that function we just created, and we're going to plug it in. And now everything is nice and compact. And I don't believe that messed anything up. So if we go ahead and click play, everything should still work. All the numbers right there work, especially when I click the actual button in the middle, which is a reference to a widget and everything. Clicking shop, that opens up. That's a reference to one of those widgets. Clicking it does change everything. That's a reference to the widget. So everything still works, even though we just added all the existing code into a function. It doesn't ruin any of the variables. But let's continue now. So we got the HUD reference. From the main HUD, which is where all these buttons are down here, we need to go ahead and change this one now. So let's go ahead and add a text to this button here. This one's going to be named, let's say, stats. And then we actually need to change it to say stats. This is just so we know what the words are, what the text is, whatnot. And then actually click on the button itself. Make sure this is called stats button. And then is variable. We can also change the size of the text. What do we change this one to? The size is 15 on that one. So if we go over here and type in the word size, because for some reason it's not showing up, we'll click 15 and make it all kind of match. Compile, and then make sure it is a variable. Close out that search. Scroll all the way down on the button, I should say, and click on is clicked. So when this is clicked, what are we going to do? Well, we're essentially going to do exactly what we did here. So we need to add a couple more variables before we continue. Back over at the game mode, we need to do another is Boolean, basically. So we're going to duplicate that one, but we're going to do is stats opened. That's another Boolean. It's going to be defaulted to no because we don't want it to be open on the screen at all times. And we're going to do basically the same thing here. We're going to do the game mode. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room here, by the way. And we're going to do is stats opened. Hold B and left click on the event graph to get the branch. And we're going to plug this in. So this is asking the question, is the stats window open or not? If it is, we want to remove it when we click the button. If it is not, we want to create it when we click the button. So let's reference what we did up here. We got the reference from the shop, right? From the game mode. And we're going to find the play animation from that reference. So let's go ahead and get the stats widget reference. And we're going to do play animation. And what animation are we wanting to play? Well, from this widget reference, we're going to have the word animation. Scroll down and we're going to do a show widget reference, I guess you can say. We're going to do the show animation and plug that into what animation we want to play. So is the stats window open? No, it's not. So we want to play it and open it up. We're going to duplicate this down here so we can get the reference to that widget. And we're going to add to viewport once this animation has played. And then we're going to do the opposite basically here. So we're going to get the game mode and the stats widget reference. And we're going to play an animation, plug that in. And then from this widget reference, we're going to type in the word animation because it'll just give us anything involving animations. And we're going to do the hide animation. And that's going to plug that into there. We're going to grab these two here, duplicate it, and then we're going to remove from parent. Now, I kind of think that this is going to fire and then fire. I believe that's what it's trying to do, so it's not able to finish the animation before it removes. So I wonder if we should probably do a delay. Maybe it'll give our animation some time to play beforehand. We know it's a half a second long, so it's going to fire off the play animation and then the delay right after. So we're going to do 0.4, so it removes it midway through the play, I guess you can say. And we can try that. Let's see how that works. We probably should do the same thing up here too, but we're not just yet. Make sure everything looks perfectly fine, and let's try it. Let's see if this will work. Maybe I forgot something. Click stats. It pops up. Oh, that's another thing we did forget. We forgot to freezing. Yep, there we go. We forgot to set this boolean here. So we're removing it from the parent. So we want to set it to not being open no more. So set is stats opened to no, because we're removing it. It's not opened. And then over here, when we're opening it, we want it to set it to true. It is opened. So now it should work. So we click stats, click it again. You can see it animates in and out, which is good. We don't get that here with the shop. The shop just instantly cancels it out. And I actually know the reason why. And it's actually this delay here. It's delaying the removing from parent, so we have enough time to actually see the animation. Let's just go ahead and make this 0.5 so we know it's exactly the same length as the animation. And then we're just going to do the same thing here. So we're going to move this down just a little bit. We're going to add a delay. And then I think the animations were the same, 0.5. Now let's give it a little bit of a test. So we open it up and we close it. Yes, that's perfect. Do the shop. That is perfect. We open up both. There we go. So we have our shops and our upgrades. Also, I just realized some of my screen was cut off, and I don't know when that happened. Maybe I accidentally moved one of my canvases in the recording software. So if y'all missed some of this stuff, I'm sorry, but this is still going to get uploaded. I can't help it because this has been an hour and a half of recording, and I'm not going to throw all that out the window. But yeah, we forgot to format the text, by the way. I just realized we forgot to format the text. So now we want to go ahead and adjust that. So the stats is where we need to upgrade everything. And if we go to the event graph, we have the get text. So we're showing how many points we are getting per click, but it doesn't say points per click, so the player doesn't know what they're reading. So we want to go ahead and break this right here by holding Alt and clicking there. It'll break whatever's there. We want to format text again. And so we're going to do, what do we want it to say? Points per manual click. That's what it's going to say on the words. We're going to do that, and we're going to add the curly brackets. And then inside the curly brackets, we're going to say points per manual click. So what this is doing is it's going to physically say points per manual click on the screen for the player to read, and then the number is going to be this number here. So now if we click play, and we open up the stats, points per manual click is 1. If we go up to 20 points, we open up the shop and upgrade this. Now it shows that we have 2 points per manual click. It shows that we've upgraded once here, and then the prices. So now another thing I want to do is, let's say we have multiple different upgrades we can do here. So this one cost 20 points for the first upgrade, 270 something for the second one, so on. But what if we have another clicks per second upgrade that makes it to where you get 5 points per click or whatever, or you have an auto upgrade so it automatically does the clicking for you, and you can upgrade that so you can have something that clicks a lot faster. But you have multiple upgrades and you want to see how many upgrades you've purchased all together so you don't have to scroll through all the upgrades and do the math yourself. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's go to the shop, and we need to add another upgradable thing. We're going to duplicate this. I'm going to go ahead and hide that upgrade shop thing there. We can also rename these things too. So let's go ahead and name this to being shop text, just so it's not so confusing. This one is going to be renamed to CPS, so clicks per second, upgrade 1. And this one's going to be upgrade 2, I guess you could say. So F2 and CPS upgrade 2. There we go. We also probably should add some spacing between each of these so the padding can be like, I don't know, we'll add padding to the top and bottom, but not to left and right. So the top can be like 15 and the bottom can also be like 15. And then same thing on this one. The top could be like 15 and the bottom can be like 15. We got a little bit of spacing between each upgrade. Also, I kind of want to add a spacer. You don't need to do this, but I kind of want to just to put spacing between each of the words. Spacer between the words and the actual thing. 10. You can see we have a little bit of space between the actual button and the number. You can also go ahead and just add another spacer if you would like to. You don't need to use spacers. I'm assuming you can also just use padding, but you can see that the number is like alone now and it's not smashed up against the button like this. These are all just different things you can do on your own. It's up to you. But we're going to head and add like 7 on this so it pushes it away from the edge. And then we're going to add another spacer, but we're going to put it on the other side of the text so it puts space between the button. And now everything looks a lot less jam-packed, I guess you can say. Let's go ahead and remove this upgrade. And let's just reduplicate this one with all the new fancy things we did to it. And let's just change this to CPS upgrade 2. And there we go. Now we have 2 identical upgrades and they look really, really good. This is the actual upgrade button. So we're going to do upgrade button 2 just to make sure the names are differentiated in the actual variables tab. And what do we want to have happen when we click this button then? So unclicked, and it's going to do the exact same thing we did a little bit ago. So this is the function that we created, or the code that we created to see if the player has a certain amount of money. And if they do, we're going to adjust a thing like points per click, and then we're moving it, and then we're also changing the amount. So this code and this code go together. Now we need to make a whole separate thing for this next purchase. Now, you could probably do it differently if you used a bunch of data tables and a bunch of different things like that, and that's doable. But I actually enjoy, and I don't know if I'm just weird, but I enjoy the painstaking task of going through and recreating a bunch of stuff and manually coding a lot of stuff instead of making a data table where I could just throw in one variable and it creates everything for me. I don't enjoy that. I enjoy the sitting around for an hour and a half to 2 hours creating a bunch of stuff. I'm weird. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to comment this out so we know what we're looking at here. By the way, if you highlight everything and you press C, it'll add a comment. And this is going to be code for upgrading the manual clicks per second upgrade 1. So that's telling us that that's the upgrade 1 button. That's the first one in the shop. This is everything here. Now, it's not very hard to read, so I'm not going to add a bunch of comments here. But now we need to redo everything here, basically. So we could actually just go ahead and copy literally all of this text, and then we're going to duplicate it down here. But we're going to change out a bunch of stuff, of course, because this is completely different. Now we have the code all set up. So we're getting the points, and we're doing the price for upgrade. We're going to do price for upgrade, and we're going to do button 2, basically. It's basically telling us, hey, this is for button 2. We're going to remove that one, and we're going to add this one. So now it's asking if the player has a different number or whatever. What's our default for this one? So we're going to say is our default for this one going to be 200. So now that we changed one variable, it's seeing the player has that much money, and it's taking that much from them automatically. So now we're going to do things a little bit differently, though. So we got this where it's setting how much money we have, which is fine, or how many points, I guess you can say we have. We're going to move this separately for a minute. We're going to do a little bit more math here. And then this is seeing if the player has that amount of money, whatever we have set. If they do, cool. If they don't, well, then it doesn't do anything. But here we're setting how many clicks, how many points per manual click we get. Now this is where we're going to start doing the randomization again. So we're going to remove the increment because we're not just trying to add 1 point per click. You could do a addition here. You could do a plus. Oops, that's not a plus. You could do a plus here and then add just 10. So you know every time the player upgrades and uses an upgrade, they're only going to get 10 per upgrade, and then the price is going to go up. But I kind of feel like I want to do something a little bit differently. So Price for upgrade, points per manual click, random integer. Oops, if I can spell right, integer in range. So basically, we're going to be taking this and we're going to be adding a random integer in range, just like we did beforehand with the price upgrades. So let's just make this look a little bit more clean because it's actually kind of getting messy. What we'll do is we'll take this out of here and then we'll grab this and plug it in down here just to make it cleaner. What's the ranges that we want them to be getting? So each time they upgrade, we could change this. And we can also do this by getting different values. So let's go ahead and get the clicker game mode. And let's see what the variable is called. Clicks per second upgrade number. So clicks per second upgrade number. This is where we're going to check if it is in a range of an integer. And this is how we're going to depict on or depend. This is what we're going to depend on to randomly choose a number for us. So if their upgrade number, their clicks per second upgrade number, which we add to it, no matter what upgrade we purchase, it adds 1 to this number. If this number is in between 0 and 10, and that is true, then we're going to do a whole different set of math. So let's break this down. Is the clicks per second upgrade number between 1 and 10? Have they upgraded it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5, so on and so forth? Have they upgraded it anywhere between those two? We're checking this on the true, of course, because that means, hey, they can upgrade whatever they have. So let's say we wanted to upgrade them between 3 clicks per second and 8 clicks. We're going to go into the true, so they have been. That's going to be our new variable. I know this may be a little bit confusing. Let me go ahead and just make this easier to read here. Just let me get this out of the way. So basically what this is doing here is it's asking a couple of questions. We have the first question back here saying, hey, does a player have the points? Yes or no? They do have enough points to upgrade. Cool. We're moving on from that. We're ignoring all that over here. This is the new set of code we're doing. So we're getting the game mode, and then we're getting the points per manual click. We're trying to figure out how much we want them to be able to click every time we're trying to figure out how many points they get every time they click. This is for the second upgrade. So this one's going to cost more, but it's also going to be more rewarding. When they click it, we're going to give them a random chance of upgrading to 3 clicks per manual or 3 points per manual click and 8. So that means when they click the button in the middle, they could get 3 points and they could get 8 points. This is going to determine which number is going to pick in between those two. But it does a question first. It asks if the upgrade number has been between 1 and 10. If it is, then it's going to go with this code here. It's going to pick a number between 3 and 8. If it's not between those numbers and it's been between, I don't know, let's say we can just do all this again if you would like. If it's in between 11 and 20, we'll add another branch. That's hitting false, saying, hey, no, it's not within this range. We're going to check if it's in this range. If it's between these ranges, then we're going to do all of this again. Now, we can make functions if you would like to make this a little bit more cleaner. The 100% doable. We're just going to duplicate this down here. Make this look a little bit cleaner. And drag this up. So it's not between 1 and 10 upgrade level. It is between 11 and 20. True. Cool. Now we can change these values. We want to upgrade it at least 14 to 20. And then this right here, now we just need to go ahead and add back in the mathematical part where it takes the points away. We need to change the price for upgrade from the minus to be in the second one because this is the second button. And let's go ahead and just duplicate this down here onto this new line here. And that should be good. Now, of course, if you're doing it this way, it'd probably be better for one to add these into functions because it makes things a hell of a lot easier. Not these parts here because these parts have to be out because they're connected to the branches, whatever. But the actual math down here that's actually doing could be put into functions to make this look a lot cleaner. Now, there is a really bad part about doing it this way, though, is we're manually hard coding in a check. So if they're above 20, on the upgraded points. Like if they've upgraded 20 times, then they're constantly going to keep getting this code. It's going to keep firing. So you're going to have to code in, like a bunch of these checks. But we can always test this. It's 200. So we got to at least have 200 for this. And then we're going to do this check here, which is just changing the price essentially. So we're going to do that down here. This is the same thing we just did. We're going to add a custom event. And then we're going to do, let's just keep that there like that for a second. Let's copy this name. And then we'll add that to here. But we're going to have to change it. F2, paste, and then we're just going to add a 2 to the end of that. And that's going to fire. So numbers of clicks, clicks per second upgrade number. See, we're adding 1 to the numbers we've upgraded. This is the actual variable saying, hey, how many times have they upgraded? We're adding 1 to that. So that will actually affect the outcome you guys get here. So if you guys upgrade using the cheapest upgrade possible 100 times, and then you use these ones down here, it's going to change what your value comes out to be. Also, I'm probably really horrible at explaining this stuff, and I'm very sorry. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying my best to explain this. Now we need to change the price upgrades. So let's go ahead and add the upgrade price 2, because this is the new one. Whoa. This is the new one. And then we need to set that new one. So we're going to set it here. We're going to fire it off here, and then we're going to plug it in there. Now we need to actually make this one different price. We're going to range this one between 250 to 500 for the upgrade. And that's going to choose a random number every time we purchase this. So I realized there was a slight little hiccup / bug. And that has to do with this number down here. Now, I was trying to set those numbers here, as you see on this text right here. If we look at the get text, is literally just a default get text. We actually have that here. We're using the upgrade number there. I realized that's a bug. So we're adding to that upgrade number when we click this button. But when we click this button, it'll actually add to that one too. We don't want that. That is done right here. Every time we click one of the buttons, we call this custom function or this custom event. It does its math, and then it sets the new price, but it also increments the upgrade number. And that's over in the game mode. So we don't want that. We need to make a new upgrade number. So click on the CPS upgrade number, and we're going to change that to 2. And then the reason why is that's going to be for the second upgrade. Now we want to do a new one called upgrades done by upgrades purchased. Now we're doing upgrades purchased for a reason. Let's go back to shops, and then this one's for the second one. Let's go ahead and call the CPS upgrade number 2, and we're going to increment that one. So this one's incrementing number 2 instead of number 1, because we definitely don't want to be doing that. We also need to be calling this function or this custom event here. So change upgrade amount 2, and then same thing here. Change upgrade amount 2. But now here's the next bug. It's checking for that first number here and here, and that's basing off that. So this will always fire off differently, and that's not what we want. We actually want to go ahead and get the upgrades purchased number. Upgrades purchased number. We'll plug that in and remove this. And we'll plug that one into there too. So we're checking if the all-around upgrades purchased have been between a certain value. But this number will never, ever, ever change. So we need to add to those values here. So we're going to get from the game mode again. We'll do get upgrade purchased, increment it. So it's adding 1 to it every time we purchase. We want to do the same thing to this one up here. Drag out of the game mode, purchased. There we go. And we're going to increment it. And this also runs into the next part, is how many upgrades have we purchased altogether? But we'll get to that in a moment. So now on the text over here, we want to bind this new number here with a certain value. The same way we did here. We got the game mode and we got the clicks per second upgrade number. We got the game mode, clicks per second upgrade number. Then we got number 2 though, because this is for the second one. And there we go. That shall change when we get enough money to purchase a second upgrade, and we do, it'll change the number next to it based off of how many times we've upgraded it. Now we need to actually bind this text to say how much it costs. Because if we look at here, this is get text underscore 00. If we go to there, it's price for upgrade and then the format text. So we need to do the same thing here for this one. We're going to bind this text. And what is the text going to be? The same thing as this. We're going to get the price for upgrade. But since this is going to be for the second purchase, we're going to do the second one. And then we're going to format text. And then that'll be the same exact thing here. So we're just going to copy everything here. And then we're going to put it in there. We also should probably put a money symbol there or something like that. I don't know if that'll do anything. I just want to see what that looks like. Click compile and let's try to run this. If we open up the shop, you can see it tells us exactly how much money this stuff cost. It shows you the price for the very top one. Clicks per second upgrade is 0. Well, it tells you the cost is 20 and it tells you own 0. This one, it tells you the cost is 200 and you own 0. If we open up the stats, we have our normal things we've had. Now we'll go ahead and try to get to 20. Just to show you one more time. That one works. Now it costs 177 and we've already purchased it one time. Let's go ahead and get it to 200. And if we go ahead and click on this one, see the price is now 547 and we've owned one of them. Now if we look at this, points per manual click is now 7 instead of 2. So we only purchased one of these, which made us get 2 points per click. We got this one and it gave us 7. So that means it added 5 to how many we get, which is great. And we actually get a good amount of money very quickly here. So let's see this again. Let's buy the big upgrade again so we can really show what we were talking about a little bit ago. The thing I couldn't explain worth a shit. If we go up to 500 and something like that and we click this, we are already at 7. If we click it again, now we're at 12. So we added another 5 to that. And it's a random value. And that is all done through this little cascade of code right here. Now for the final part of this video, before we get into the next video, which will be eventually, let's do the final status. So if we look at the designer here, we got points gathered and upgrades purchased. The points gathered, I'm not going to work on right now. We'll do that some other time, but I want to change the upgrades purchased. So first I'm going to copy all of those words and I'm just going to click and create a new binding. So upgrades purchased, we're just going to paste that in there and then we're going to do our 2 curly brackets and then just type the word all together, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Oh, wait, not that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a format text. And then here I'm going to paste this. I accidentally had to redo this. But we have the words upgrade purchased in here. We're going to do the curly brackets and then we're just going to type in the random thing like all together. Hit enter. Now you can see we got an all together pin here. We got the format here. So we have this one variable in here that we were adding to no matter which one we did, which is this one right here. So upgrades purchased. So anytime you purchase an upgrade, whether it's purchase 2, it adds to that. If it's purchase 1, it adds to that. So it's always being added to. So if we go to the status, we go and get the game mode, and then we get purchased. Oops. We're going to get that purchase. We're going to plug it in directly there. This is going to tell the player, hey, how many have I purchased altogether? So now if we click play, We open up the stats, points gathered. Oh, wait, right here. Upgrade purchased. So that's how many we've upgraded. But we have 0 and 0, so that number should be 0. If we get up to 20, we upgrade this, that should turn to 1. That's how many clicks we're going to be getting per manual click. And this is how many upgrades we've had altogether. Now, if we do this one again, if we hit the second one, it'll add 1 to this. And now we have 2 upgrades altogether. And this is how much we're making per click. We didn't get a good number there. And we can go ahead and keep upgrading if we want to. Let me go ahead and just get a bunch of money here real quick so we can showcase this off a little bit better. There we go. If we go ahead and click this one again, we have 3 purchases altogether because it's 2 plus 1 is 3. We click it again, we got 4 altogether, and then we're only making 8 per manual clicks. We was using the low level upgrade. Not very good. Okay, now we go ahead and hit this. We'll upgrade this one. Now we're making 13 points per click, and we got $760 per upgrade. We've upgraded twice on this one and 3 on this one, so 3 plus 2 is 5. You can see here that we have 5 altogether. Yeah, it's actually coming along. Okay, upgrade again. Now we're making 16. Not too shabby. You can see we can't purchase it anymore because we don't have enough money for that. There we go. We got the shop and we got the status, which I think is freaking amazing. Now, I think what we're going to do in the next video is possibly we're going to add the points per second, I guess you can say, or the auto, I mean. So it'll automatically build up points for you once you unlock it, which shouldn't be too hard to do. Once you unlock it, it's going to fire off a timer that is going to give you a point every 1 second or whatnot. And then we're going to change values and variables of how much automatically gets added into your account every second based off of upgrade numbers. Now, once again, I've said this in the very beginning. Also, that's wrong. We could also change that real quick. So before we go ahead and continue, or before we get off here, let's go ahead and change a couple more things. Because you see here, we forgot to change the anchor points. We need to make sure that these are in the center. Just make sure we got this going up. And we can just adjust this positioning. Do it a little bit at a time. So about right there. Negative 110. Looks good. I'll keep that number. And then same thing for here. The anchor needs to be zeroed. 110. Just bring this out just a wee little bit more. I think we should add it to like something like right there. And then we'll add this one over just a little bit more too. We should probably honestly put these 2 into a vertical box so they both realign as the number grows. But if we look at this again, you see now it's more centered out. And if we go over it here and we play it in a small screen, my Unreal Engine has froze. And there we go. Now you can see it's more centered, even in a small screen. I could probably change that just a little bit more and refine it how I would like, but that is up to you on how you would like your game. Also, you can just hit F11 to make it full screen, and there we go. Everything is now working, and I really, really like it. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. I am extremely tired. I feel like I'm about to fall asleep sitting here just trying to talk. And I'm sorry if I confused anybody throughout this entire video. If I did, I am extremely sorry. I'm not used to creating Unreal Engine tutorials, so that's going to be a learning curve for me. But thank you guys for watching. Stick around for the next one. Let me know what you guys want to see in any other video, and I will do my best to get to it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.